Yeah, great. I think so. We are live. So first of all, of course, rain check for everyone. Like if I am completely audible, just type in audible in the chat, in the live chat, which you everyone must be seeing. Just put in the word audible. If I am completely audible to everyone. Yeah, just will wait for a couple of minutes so that everyone can you know join in and put in audible in the comment section. Yeah, I can see now. Great. Cool. So yeah, first of all, warm welcome to everyone. It's great to see everyone, joining. Like whoever will be joining, even in the next 1 hour or so. It's pretty awesome that you guys could, take out the time from your busy weekends, right? I'm pretty sure that is, how it is like these days. So yeah, this session is going to be something pretty insightful, and this is the first ever mentor class that we are bringing out, for everyone to kind of experience, right? And even in the future we are going to have many more such mentor classes. So like the purpose of this mentor classes essentially, is to help you understand कि इंडस्ट्री में क्या चल रहा है अभी right now, क्या क्या steps लेने चाहिए, right? What's the process and what are the perks and many more such, practical insights, right? And actionables which you can take to achieve the goals you want to, है ना? So, and of course these mentor classes can be, deep dives into specific domains. Podcasts हो सकते हैं, ये intensive workshops हो सकते हैं for upskilling purposes, and that too of course from the, best mentors out there, many of whom you already of course know, right, from your socials. So now coming to this mentor class, we have got two such rock stars, right, who know a lot about the tech space essentially, and have been of course working at top product based companies, right? So without further ado, I would like to welcome Aditya and Abhishek to the stream. Hey guys, how are you doing? All good?
Yeah. I,
Hi Abhishek, all good.
Yeah, great, man. So yeah, even I think from the audience as well, I can see that everyone can hear, so that's fine. So I think guys, let's do a quick introduction about ourselves. So Aditya, why don't you go first and give us a bit introduction about yourself? Yeah.
Sure, Jaideep. So, hello everyone, I'm Aditya Sharma. I currently work in the front end team at Cred, and I'm from Delhi. Previously, I was mostly involved in open source work via open source programs like GSOC and MLH.
Yeah, that's great. Abhishek, you wanna introduce yourself?
yeah. Hey everyone, this is Abhishek, and currently I'm working as a software engineer at Swiggy. And I started like I mostly do front end, but I recently started picking up back end as well. And previously, I have mostly worked on worked with early stage startups and worked on a lot of projects like 50, 60. And apart from that, I also like writing. You might have seen it on my LinkedIn and other blogs as well. And I also like traveling and zooming also. So yeah, that's
Yep. Amazing, Abhishek. So yeah, I think even I'll do a short intro about myself since everyone is doing. So for people who already know me, I'm humbled, and for people I know, quite a lot of people are new to this. So hi guys, I am Jaideep, and currently of course I'm building Mentro with an amazing team. And of course previously I've worked at companies like Vedantu, Geo, Trell, and also with the Google team on its Flutter SDK. And just like Aditya, I love doing open source a lot and happen to crack Google Sum of Code twice as well, right, in the journey. So yeah, in general, like what the purpose of Mentro is that we want to build this amazing network of mentors and learners, right, so that anyone and everyone can upskill directly from the best people at any point of time, right? So that is the mission we are on. So yeah, I think great that now we are done with the intros. So I think we can probably start with today's agenda, right? So I think काफी evident है from the topic that we chose that of course we are going to talk about tech Indian startups and everything उसके साथ जो भी questions आते हैं students, freshers and professionals के mind में. I think we are going to address everything along with it. And of course काफी interactive होने वाला है. And of course एक last में 5 to 10 minutes we will be having a live Q&A where we'll be picking up your questions directly from the chat, and we'll be discussing on that, right? So make sure you stick to the end. और of course काफी announcements भी होने वाले along the way, so make sure you stick to the end. So cool. So I think the first question, guys, which we have is that how does someone get started with software engineering, right? Like software engineer, like people like सबको पता है कि or everyone dreams or desires कि मेरे को software engineer बनना है, right? But what does this term essentially mean, right? And what are the first steps you took, right, to, like, let's say, get into this domain? And how would you suggest, like, someone who is just starting out, right? So kind of उस पे थोड़ा बात करते हैं. So Aditya, if you want to go first.
Got it. Sure, Jaideep.
Yeah.
So I'll start with sharing my software engineering journey.
Yeah.
So actually, my software engineering journey started from 11th class in school. I had taken
Yeah.
computer science as a subject, and we used to learn C++ in Turbo C++. I
Yeah.
still remember writing code on that blue screen. So
Mm-hmm.
computer science
Yeah.
always, felt like a subject which did not require much effort to learn and understand. It
Mm.
felt interesting since it had the capability to build anything using code. In college, I chose computer science as well and explored a lot of things, starting with problem solving on HackerRank to open source and research programs. And for
Yeah.
anyone who's starting out with software development, I would just suggest, keep building, take help from your seniors to arrive at a good, elegant solution. And if you are a student, try to explore different environments and teams via internships or research programs. That is, I think, the best way to find out what you actually like.
Yep. 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 Got it. Abhishek, you want to share your thoughts?
Yeah, like I took fine arts in 12th. I was like just passed करना है, and
Okay. Okay.
and
Yeah.
somehow got electronics engineering, not computer science. And no,
Okay.
I was in second semester at that time, and I realized that I need to get a job and do something,
Yep.
right? So, and I was like downloading some games and scrolling through Quora, and I stumbled
Yep.
upon this post, and like it, someone has written that if you want to get a job, then just learn any language, build some project, and some basic stuff. So I
Yep.
read through it and like learned Python for a month, and then applied for some internship. And in my
Yep.
second sem, I landed an internship, and he was like, just I was working on this PHP plugin. So yeah, I worked on few projects there, and they were paying around 600 for 1 month, and yeah,
Okay.
it like,
Okay.
but at that time that was good for me.
Got
And
it. Got
then
it.
I
Yeah.
changed this internship, and like this is my journey went, and I worked with a lot of firms, like 5 to 6, and in between I also picked some freelance stuff, and
Hmm.
yeah.
Got it.
So
Got it. Yeah. Yeah, got it. Yeah, I think that was pretty interesting that, even for people who are not from CS branch, right? I think that is also a, great inspiration that, you can do it actually, right? Because people are always, कि confusion रहता है कि यार electrical में आ गए या फिर किसी और में आ गए कि कुछ होगा भी कि नहीं life में. So I think, people like Abhishek are a great inspiration. So I think, yeah, even if I have to drop a couple of cents on this, like, of course, like, if you're looking to start your software development career or software development journey right now, so start with something. If you already have a programming knowledge, so that's the best place to start, right? Like, build up on that, right? So see, for example, in software development, you have different domains, right? Like अपन के पास Android development है, web development है, machine learning है, data science. So there are a bunch of domains. iOS development है. तो ऑफ कोर्स, लाइक, फर्स्ट यू हैव टू सी कि व्हाट इंटरेस्ट यू. आप कुछ चीजें एक्सप्लोर करो, राइट? लाइक अंटिल एंड अनलेस, लाइक, एज आदित्य एंड अभिषेक मेंशन, कि आप जब तक एक दो प्रोजेक्ट्स नहीं बनाओगे, आप कुछ चीज ट्राई नहीं करोगे, लाइक, देयर इज अ बंच ऑफ रिसोर्सेज अवेलेबल ऑन द इंटरनेट, राइट? इफ यू पिक एनी डोमेन, आप उसके कुछ बिगिनर लेवल प्रोजेक्ट्स बनाओ, तो आपको अपने आप समझ में आ जाएगा, राइट, कि what suits you better, right? And from there you can start picking it up, right? Like, you can, of course, as these guys mentioned, right, do couple of freelance things, maybe try to get a internship, be it paid or unpaid, like, really that doesn't matter. Like, if you're just starting out and just want to know कि क्या होता है ये, right? Like, once you get that exposure, then you can start charging money, or, like, let's say, expect a stipend and go for a high paid internship of sorts, right? So I think, yeah, that is a great place to start, right? So yeah, like moving on to the next question. So like currently, guys, of course you guys are working at companies like Cred, Swiggy, right? So like how does a day as an SD looks like for you, right? And like how is the schedule, or is there any sort of extra work pressure, or like do you like what's your experience like as an daily SD? Like what can you share with all the audience, like who are trying to or aspiring to become a SD in top tech company or a product company? So yeah, Abhishek, you want to go first on this?
Yeah, so like they know such schedule. So I just
Yep.
generally wake up at like 9 or 10, and I just log in my Gmail and check some important emails. If there is any, then I reply to it, and then I check my Jira and like what I was working on, what's the new task added, or like where I am, added in some other task as well or not, in some other comments section. And then I check my calendar. Do I have any new meetings added or not? Then I plan my time, and I just spare out few hours for working on some feature or bugs I'm allotted. And yeah, so there is no such
Yeah.
schedule. It depends upon you, like how do you manage it.
राइट राइट राइट, लाइक मतलब ऐसा कुछ क्रिस्प शेड्यूल नहीं रहता कि यार इस समय ये करना है, दिस इज द टाइम यू हैव टू डू दिस
Yeah.
एंड दैट, राइट? या
Yeah,
सो या
just
या
the meetings are scheduled, so you have to attend the meeting. And sometimes if you're
yep
stuck somewhere or some there's some cross team dependency, then just
yep
set up a call with the other team member and just talk and just you can even work at night. Just do the
yep
meetings in the morning and work
yep
at night. There's no such. And about the
correct.
a deadline or so there is no such pressure while working on the any feature, but sometimes there is some a very important bug like what do you say, high priority bug comes, and
Yep yep
there is some feature which we need to release in very short amount of time. Then that certain period you might face some pressure, but generally there is no pressure.
yep, absolutely. I think yeah, even that makes sense. Like the timings are pretty flexible, right? In
Right,
everyone's
right.
case who is working at a tech startup. Yeah, Aditya, you want to share your insights?
Sure, sure, sure. As Jaideep, you mentioned, I'm working in the front end team at Red. My
Yep
day usually starts with some exercise or some meeting. Exercise, of course, I started going recently because earlier I was mostly working from home for the
yep
2 years during COVID. I have started working from office since March this year. I reach office around 11:30 or 12 p.m. Then we have a daily stand-up to discuss team updates. And on a day-to-day basis, I build new features or fix existing ones. One thing I personally enjoy is that we own a feature from start to end. We get involved in the brainstorming sessions with the design, product, and backend teams. After the feature is live, we monitor it, check metrics, and further iterate on it based on data. We have a lunch in office and continue our work post that. Evenings
yep
are mostly spent hanging out with the team, eating snacks on the
yep
terrace, and
yep
playing table
yep
tennis. So table tennis has become an everyday thing. I
yep
return home after dinner at office. Then I either relax or spend some time reading tech stuff like blogs, articles, etc.
Yeah, I think that is another great thing about what we have seen in recent years with Indian startups is that that sort of kind of playable mindset, right? Like everyone who is in the team, right, like either enjoys or have plays games in the office, right? Like and like this is
Yeah,
not like earlier क्या होता था कि सबके पास यही माइंडसेट था कि आपको गूगल में जॉब लेना है क्योंकि गूगल का ऑफिस सबसे बढ़िया है, वहाँ पे गेम्स खेलते हैं, वहाँ पे बढ़िया खाना होता है। तो आई थिंक abhi in the recent years what we have seen, the Indian tech startup ecosystem has changed a lot. So kafi you'll get a lot of, like, I can promise you myself that you'll get a lot of enjoying opportunities, right? Not just ऐसा नहीं है कि आपको बस काम काम, like वो
right,
वाला
right.
माहौल है, like I think there is a more playful and enjoyable mood in Indian tech startups right now, right? So I think it's a
Yeah,
great
and
time to
eating and playing
yeah.
with the teammates is something which
Yup,
just
yup,
got
yup,
added
yup.
once we started working from office.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, I think even during the COVID times, this is what people were missing, right? Because
Exactly.
once you get into the office and you start doing the networking thing, and and an environment like this actually catalyzes that, क्योंकि अगर वैसा serious माहौल होता है and like everyone is on their computers sitting and coding like day and night, तो of course you also start getting कि क्या चल रहा है यार, कि क्या होगा. But once you see this sort of environment, and I think it's a perfect thing for anyone, if you want to join a tech startup, Indian tech startup, I think the time has come, right? So I think, yeah, that is a great thing. So yeah, like now continuing on that, guys, like what is the programming language or technology which you guys use, right? Like since Aditya mentioned you are in the front end team
Yeah, yeah.
at Cred, and Swiggy, Abhishek is working on, right? So like what is the technology, or what are some of the programming languages which you guys deal with, right? And how would you recommend someone who is, like, let's say, choosing something for the very first time, right? Like abhi usko kuch nahi pata, and he's like, let's say, starting to choose something, or maybe choose a career to go with, right? So Aditya, starting with you, like what do you guys like use in terms of technology, tech stack, and programming languages?
Yeah, sure, sure, Jaideep. So I
Yeah,
mostly work with web technologies like JavaScript, TypeScript, and React. And you can further read about the tech used at Cred. And I'll just share a link, Jaideep will, I think, add it
yeah,
in the
sure,
live
sure.
chat.
Yeah, sure.
So here is basically, a detailed set of, technologies and tools which we are currently using at Cred. And talking
Hmm.
about what a beginner should or a student or fresher should choose when he's just starting out. So I think being a student gives you an opportunity to explore various domains via personal projects or say internships. So even personally, I participated in open source programs like GSOC and MLH and
Hmm.
research programs like MeetAx to understand what I really like. So I would say try to explore as much as you can so that you can make a good decision towards the end of your engineering degree. And the only thing is you should be familiar with one programming language, like the basics of it, so that you are able to catch up with any other new programming language which you might come across while building projects. Okay.
Got it, got it, got it. Abhishek, your insights.
Yeah, so like currently I mostly, like as I said, I also work in front end, but I started picking up back end as well. So in front
Yeah,
end we use same as TypeScript, React, and in back end I have been picking some Golang tasks, so Golang, gRPC, and
yeah,
yeah, these are only. And if you are want some career in tech, then like
yeah,
what I think is first, like try everything like in first second year, and if you have
yeah.
tried everything, and just choose like what what is interesting for you, and then focus on that in your third and fourth year,
Yep, yep,
and
yep.
do
Got it.
some internships
Yeah.
back, and do work on it, like spend some time with it, then you will be better in that field. And
Yep, 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 yep. Yeah, I think even that makes sense. Like Aditya and Abhishek mentioned about JavaScript. I think in both their responses we heard the term JavaScript. So I think when we are talking about web development, so if you're someone who is looking to start web development, I think HTML, CSS, JavaScript, right? Like I think you have been hearing this quite a lot. But when it comes to interviews, right, I've seen a lot of people just taking JavaScript very lightly, right? Because interviews mein kya hota hai ki when someone asks you on specific topics, like let's say promises pe aapko thoda sa grill karne lag jata hai, you start getting confused. So whenever you're learning anything, if you have picken up web development and you're preparing for tech interviews of web development, so try to cover up topics in depth, right? Not just ki upar se ja rahe hain, just to make sure ki things work, right? So whenever you're picking a language or you're picking a tech stack to work with, like let's say for the next maybe 4 years or 5 years, yeah, even the next 2 years, right? So just make sure that you are getting well versed with that tech stack, right? And other than that, I think abhi current scenario mein, if someone is looking to start like let's say get a tech internship, or like let's say fresher level job agar koi dhoond raha hai, to get into tech startups in India, I think Flutter is a great thing to start with. If you're like let's say in the space of, like, let's say, building applications, right? Agar aapko, developing mobile apps is something that interests you a lot, I think Flutter is something a lot of companies are picking it up, right? Like, Zomato uses it, I guess. Grow uses it. Then again, what you say, Zerodha uses it, right? So I think a lot of companies are picking up Flutter. Jinke paas already native pe apps the, they are kind of revamping it with Flutter. So make sure you can start, if you can, you just start learning Flutter. I think this is a great time. And ऊपर से not only in India, I think Flutter का बहुत बड़ा opportunity है remote में भी, right? Like, companies in the US, right, use Flutter a lot, or काफी high paying jobs होते हैं. Not just jobs, I'm also talking about internships, right? So I think that that's a great place to start. So, and if you're looking to learn Flutter development, actually, we recently launched the programs, right, which you must have seen. So Shivam, who is a SD at Navi Technologies, and he also worked at Google, so he's starting a batch on Flutter, right? I think from the next month. So make sure to join it. I think the links will be in the description, right? So yeah, like, I think that is a great technology if you're looking to start right now. So that's a great place to start, right? So yeah, cool, moving on. Guys, like, now, guys, topic or a question is that ki, people always want to know the difference between कि यार MNC में काम कैसा होता है और startup में काम कैसा होता है. Like, कुछ तो difference होगा. Like, otherwise, why do people kind of have preferences, right? So what is something, which you find different, or which you have heard about, or या फिर तुमने like, have seen it, people talk about कि उनका experience ऐसा है if they're working at a MNC और हमारा experience कुछ और ही है. So, like, what would you say the major difference between working at a large MNC, right? Like, let's say Amazon, Microsoft, या फिर even service based MNCs, rather than product based tech startups में, what do you think is the main difference, like, which you guys can point out? Aditya, if you want to share.
Sure, sure. So I think I personally enjoy working on a variety of projects. Every project as a product solves a new problem and has a lot of learning associated with it. I get to explore various project structures and architecture. I feel I might not get a similar opportunity at an MNC as the teams are divided to work on one particular product. So you might be working on the similar product for say a long period of time. And second thing is I also enjoy the speed with which we move at Cred. This also ensures a good learning rate. In MNCs, you would see that similar work would generally take 2x or more time, although it can vary from company to company. And adding to it, I think MNCs will have their own merits. They might have better processes set up across the org. In startups, you would mostly observe how new processes are set up as the company grows in size and headcount.
Yep.
And lastly, I would say the choice of MNCs would vary from person to person. As I said earlier, also keep exploring so that you know what you really like. So as you do internships in various companies, you'll kind of figure it out that you want to work in a small team size or a really big team size, like in an MNC or something like that. And also in MNCs, you can also have new teams which are kind of fast moving. So that is another thing.
Yep.
That's why it would vary from person to person.
Yep. Abhishek, your thoughts?
Yeah. So I had a job for MNC and I talked to their people and
Yep.
matlab, like main difference I found is like in a startup you get work flexibility, like you can choose your
Yep.
project, like I can ask my manager that I want to work on this, so please assign this task, so like they will
Hmm.
they generally do. But in MNC, like you are assigned to a project and you have to work on it. Like I'm not generally generalizing all the MNCs, but I have
Hmm.
seen in most of the MNCs.
Yep.
And in like yeah, so the like for me work flexibility is important, and the
Hmm.
learnings are important because in MNC if you want to change something, then it takes a lot of time,
Yep.
a lot of approvals, and a small project will take a lot of time to be completed,
Yep.
as you said. But
Right.
in
Yep.
a startup, even like you learn a lot because you are building a lot of things in a small span of time. So you get to learn a lot of things in a in a small amount of time. So yeah, that is, yeah, very important
Yep.
for me. Yeah. So I pick
Yep.
start.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I think even in startups, I think the biggest difference, which I'll say, key the rate at which you grow, right? Like I'm sure that even in MNC, you will be, of course, learning a lot of things. You'll be growing as well. But the pace at which you grow, I think it's the best in a startup, right? Because as Aditya and Abhishek mentioned, कि यहाँ पे काइंड ऑफ आप डिफरेंट वैरायटी देखते हो, राइट? एंड आई थिंक थोड़ा ज्यादा ओपन होता है यहाँ पे चीजें, राइट? इवन लाइक लेट्स से इवन द टीम्स, राइट, which like let's say be it front end back end team and even like let's say the product team या design team हो गया, है ना? तो like let's say I can say like एक ही टेबल पे बैठ के सब कोई खाते हैं, राइट? Like that is the sort of environment which startups have, right? So आपको काफी चीजें like across teams भी सीखने को मिलती है, right? For example, कल को अगर आपको like let's say प्रोडक्ट टीम में मूव करना है या फिर like let's say डिजाइन टीम में ही मूव करना है, तो you can like let's say get a lot of insights, right? How do they work, what is their workflow like, right? तो and of course काफी networking तो of course as we mentioned earlier काफी ज्यादा होती है. So I think that is sort of the best thing which I found about startups in comparison to MNCs, right? जहाँ पे of course थोड़ा सा और time लगता है, as these guys mentioned, delay होता है चीजें. But yeah, I think that is the main difference ki if you, and especially if you are someone who is in their initial stages of career, or like you just want to kickstart, आपको सीखने पे ज्यादा focus करना चाहिए, right? So rather than कि एक kind of stable job में घुस गए, because I think this is also a mentality which a lot of people have कि I'll get a stable job and maybe I'll get a salary, and I'll go maybe until x number of years, right? So yeah, like you are not thinking long term, right? Like because अभी अगर आप initially चीजें सीखोगे नहीं, right? अगर आपका growth अभी सही से नहीं होगा, तो in the long term you'll start getting frustrated, right? फिर आपको तब job change करने का सोचना पड़ेगा, and फिर then you have to sit and upskill, right? अब फिर of course काफी दूसरे commitments भी आ सकते हैं, right? When you get older. So when you are young, and especially when you are in college या फिर just you have graduated, या फिर even 1 or 2 years in your professional experience, so this is the best time कि यार आप you can join a startup, you can get the learnings and the growth curve like correct, and then move on कि आपको क्या करना है, right? So yeah, I think that is something which you should definitely look at, right? So yeah, I think guys, moving on to the next question. So Aditya, like tell us a big or I think we were talking about this previously as well.
Yeah.
So like what will be a interesting project, or like it can be from your company or outside your company, that you recently worked on? And along with this comes the question ki especially students or people who are looking to build projects, right? Like how should they pick on ideas, right? Like not just common ideas like Netflix clone, Amazon clone, ये तो सब कोई बना लेते हैं. Like how should they think about in choosing a project idea, or how should they go about building projects in general? So first, like what will be a interesting project that you worked upon? तो पहले उससे थोड़ा start करते हैं. Can you
Sure,
tell us a
sure.
bit about that?
Yeah, so I think the last interesting project I worked on was at work only. What we did was at work we revamped the whole Cred app from neomorphism to neopop, and I'm grateful that I was part of such a big revamp. So what we did is we built a new design system for all platforms and open sourced it recently. It
Yep.
was interesting to learn about how design systems are built and structured. Everyone in the team contributed to it. For web platform, we optimized the design system for web views and tested it on both iOS and Android devices. There were other challenges as well, like aligning to design and coding patterns within the team, and then ensuring support for both neomorphism and neopop without increasing load time and bundle size. Basically, we needed to support the latest app version as well as the users which are on previous app versions. So a lot of challenges as well and a lot of learnings associated with it. And talking about the second question, second part of your question,
Yep.
what project should student choose? So I think students should try to focus on a product that solves a problem. So,
Yep.
you gave an example of a Netflix clone. It
Yeah.
has a lot of learnings associated with it for someone who is a beginner, but
Correct.
it might not solve an actual problem because, like it is a clone of an existing product. So
Correct.
now what you can do is you can try to identify some problems around you. Say I recently remember one example, so I'm just sharing that.
Yep.
So I heard Udita from Salt Pay that she
Hmm.
was having some issues with international transactions.
Yeah.
So like now she's a founder and she built a product around the problem which she was actually facing.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that's how you can explore and find out problems around yourself and build a small
Yep.
product around it. It can also be a developer tool. It can be a product which is solving your parents' problem in everyday life. It can be anything.
Yep.
So
Yep.
basically, try to identify problems around yourself and build a
Yep.
product around it.
Yep. 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 Yeah, that's great. Abhishek, your thoughts?
Yeah, so talking about my projects, so I worked on a lot of projects, and like currently I'm working on this Swiggy Genie, like few people
Yep.
might have heard. So
Yep.
I have been working on from August and worked on a lot of features like card page implementing Swiggy one in the Swiggy Genie and revamping it like a lot of us. So impact wise, I will say this is my one of the great projects. And other than talking about the learning, so I worked with this company called MessengerX.io, and they are around 100 to 200K users. So they had to build a word like you see WordPress websites.
Yep.
So and they have this WordPress plugin, and you just have to install it, and you can do whatever the plugin does. So I had to build a WordPress plugin, and on clicking on the one button, you can build embed a chatbot in your website. So I
Hmm.
think learning wise, it was one of my great project. I learned a lot of things, hashing tokens and a lot of things. So backend wise, front end
Yep.
wise, everything. So
Yep.
yeah, it was one of the great. And talking about the projects, how you should choose, Aditya said it very greatly that see the current problems you are facing and try to solve it. And like if you are still not able to see the problems, then you can just go to Reddit and Quora and see a lot of people are posting their problems, like tech
Hmm.
problems, and find
Yep.
just pick any tech problem that people are writing that I am getting this like this is not good for me, can how can I do this. So like just pick it up and build something out of it, and yeah, it will work for you.
Yep.
So try it
Yep.
out, and everything is flowing, in front of you. You just have to pick it.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, I think those were I think pretty much about the like how you should pick up projects, right? Because the thing is that कि जब आप कुछ common बना लेते हो, right? For example, during the COVID time, I saw a bunch of people making the COVID tracker, right, and putting it on their resume, right? So now अब क्या होता है कि when you apply with that, like let's say किसी HR के पास आपका resume जाता है तो काफी ज्यादा common हो जाता है, like you should be able to stand out of the crowd, right? कि of course अगर आपको इंटरव्यू शेड्यूल करवाना है अपना, तो you have to make sure that your resume stands out, कुछ इंटरेस्टिंग चीजें हैं उसमें आपके बारे में, right? If you are just the same as, like let's say, everyone who have applied, right, so there won't be any difference, right? You won't be getting an interview call. So you have to make sure that as Aditya and Abhishek mentioned कि you have to make something interesting, right? Like even अगर आपको Netflix clone बनाना भी है, like don't make a ditto Netflix clone, make a movie streaming service, right? Or make a movie streaming app, right? Give it your let's say आपका थोड़ा सा creativity डाल दो उसमें, make it थोड़ा different, right? Maybe add a new couple of new features, right? Maybe solve some bugs which Netflix already has, right? Like, so don't just copy the entire thing, and but rather apna creativity and put mention that in your resume, right? Most importantly ki, what are the things which you have made. Like I've seen people just simply write Netflix clone, right, in their project section. So that is of no help, right? Maybe put a link, right, कि जहाँ पे आपने maybe Heroku पे या कहीं पे deploy करके रखा है. That is the best case to show the recruiter, right? So I think try to do this, right? And whenever you're building projects, and then make sure you put your resume, put those things into your resume correctly, and then send it for whenever you're applying for internships or full time roles, right? So I think that is very important, है ना? So yeah, cool. So moving on, guys, I think again this is something which is pretty prevalent in the current set of audience, ki if someone is a student or someone is a fresher, right? तो क्या उसको लाइक लेट्स से शुड ही गो डायरेक्टली डूइंग बंच ऑफ अदर थिंग्स, या फिर एक ही पे चूज करके उसको बनाना चाहिए? फॉर एग्जांपल आई हैव सीन पीपल डूइंग वेब डेवलपमेंट एंड मोबाइल डेवलपमेंट एट द सेम टाइम, राइट? लाइक उनके रेज्यूमे में आप देखोगे दो वेब डेवलपमेंट के प्रोजेक्ट्स है, दो मशीन लर्निंग के प्रोजेक्ट्स है, दो एंड्रॉयड डेवलपमेंट के प्रोजेक्ट्स है। सो लाइक इज दिस अ गुड थिंग, और शुड पीपल फोकस ऑन वन थिंग और उसी पे काइंड ऑफ इफ दे आर मेकिंग देयर रेज्यूमे, या फिर इफ दे आर मेकिंग देयर पोर्टफोलियो, if they're making their github, right? should they focus on one tech stack कि यार कोई इस पे आए कि बस यही समझे कि मेरे को ये आता है, और should people like go with a variety, a bunch of things कि kind of decorate कर दे अपने portfolio को? So what will your guys like what do you guys think, right? So Aditya, your take.
Sure, Jaideep. So I think, like as I earlier said, being a student gives you an opportunity to explore various domains, but you
Yeah,
have to plan it. So
yeah,
what I mean by that is, like in the early years, like just when you are starting out, try to
yeah.
explore various domains. Now identify like what you like about a particular domain, what you don't like, and then take a decision. Okay, so it can be anything. You can build a personal project around a tech, or you can work on an existing open source project on a particular tech. That will help you to decide if you actually like it or not. And when you have explored, say 2 to 3 domains, you will find that okay, this is the one which I like the most. You can go ahead with it.
Mm,
You can start with it, and you can try to gain a depth in that domain. So basically, what
yeah.
we frequently hear like a T-shaped learning, where you explore various domains, gather some breadth as well, and then the field which you like the most, you gain some depth in that. So I think
Mm,
that is the best way to approach this. Now, what do you
yeah,
think of it?
yeah. Abhishek.
Yeah. So as Aditya and I also said earlier that if you're starting out, just try everything. Mobile,
Mm,
ML, CP, DSA, like try everything. And
yeah,
like DSA, like you should know basics of it because even if you're doing front end mobile or anything, you should know DSA. Like
yeah.
like the basics. And when I have to do this and then just focus on that thing only and just forget everything.
Yep, yep,
That is
yep.
what it is.
Yep, yep, yep. Got it. Got it. Yeah, I think even to that question, right? Ki, in that sort of scenario, what should people do? I think as Abhishek even mentioned earlier, and Aditya was also talking about it, is that कि of course पहले तो आप सब कुछ try करो. You until and unless you explore couple of things, you won't know, right? कि what suits you best. But now once that you're sure, for example, you have tried out web development, you have tried out machine learning, you have tried out android development, right? Now once, like let's say अगर आपको web development जज गया, right? You want to, like let's say, make work further on web development. So stick to it, right? Like stick to it for the next maybe 6 months or maybe next 3 months, right? If you just keep on mixing things up, you will find yourself in a confused state always, right? You will never be able to reach at any a specific destination, right? So make sure कि once you have found the sweet spot, just stick to it, and build more, like let's say आप एक project बनाते हो, आप build more 2 to 3 3 4 more projects, better projects, not just beginner level projects, कुछ interesting बनाते हो, like we discussed how to pick projects, how to build cool projects. So start building that, right? And mention that in your resume में you shouldn't kind of mix and match things, right? So yeah, I think that is something I think in response to that question, I think we can talk about it, है ना? So now guys, coming to the last question, I think again of course we discussed a bit about that as well previously, and थोड़ा सा controversial question है भी recently, in the recent past, that DSA versus development, राइट? लाइक मतलब डीएसए पे कितना फोकस होता है स्टार्टअप्स का स्पेशली, राइट? ऑफ कोर्स वी नो एमएनसीज का यू नो इनिशियल टेक इंटरव्यू, लाइक कोडिंग राउंड्स होते हैं, लाइक आई थिंक प्रीटी मच एवरीवन नोज कि amazon, how amazon hires and
Right, right.
stuff like that, right? But in terms of tech startups like cred, swiggy, like how the interview process for them is, right? And like even maybe we can do a bit of breakdown here कि अगर किसी को, like let's say, cred में इंटर्नशिप करना या जॉब करना, या फिर स्विगी में इंटर्नशिप या जॉब करना है, सो व्हाट विल बी देयर स्टेप बाय स्टेप प्रोसेस लुक लाइक, एंड कहाँ पे ज्यादा फोकस करना है? डू दे नीड टू डू डीएसए अ लॉट, लाइक लीड कोड हार्ड करना है, या maybe code chef, code forces karna, like what is the sort of level which these startups see, and how should they prepare about it? Yeah, Aditya, please.
Sure, sure. So,
Yep.
Jaideep, personally, I think students can start DSA and development around the same time.
Yep.
It is important to be familiar with the programming language. I think that is the
Yep.
only prerequisite. And
Mm-hmm.
DSA, if you consider it that it as a subject, it is placed quite early in the engineering coursework. So what
Yep.
students can do is students can try to
Mm.
cover it when it is being taught instead of leaving it for the end, say for the
Correct.
placement time or the
Correct.
internship interview preparation time.
Correct.
So it is
Yeah.
mostly in the first year or
Mm.
either it is in the second year of
Yeah.
engineering course. And I was personally into development since my second year, but I did spend good time to understand DSA concepts. And talking about
Yep.
interview process at CRED, so the first round is generally a machine coding round, which involves problem solving, say one or two problems in JavaScript.
Mm.
And the second round is
Yep.
kind of a front end system design round where we try to test all the JavaScript concepts. And you are
Yep.
also given an opportunity to share your best project and explain it. So
Okay.
basically, we screen share our best project and explain the structure, project structure, the architecture, the choices which we made, tech choices which we made. And
Yeah.
then there can be some question like, how would you add, say, a feature in this project? Some feature you can be given, and you would have to
Yep.
solve that problem. So, and proceeding from there, there is this final round of the culture fit or the value round. And
Mm.
yeah, that's mostly it. Also, I get this question frequently about interview process at Fred. So what I just shared
Yep.
was the process for the front end web team, and process would vary from team to team. So
Yep.
that is one thing. For backend team, the process would slightly vary. So,
Yep.
but definitely, as I said, I did spend some good time to understand DSA concepts, and you should be familiar with the basics.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Got it. Abhishek, your thoughts? What does it
Yeah.
happen
So
at Swiggy?
yeah. So talking about me, like what I did, like choose in my college. So
Huh.
I started with learning some text like Python, and I also learned C++, and then I
Okay.
choose DSA. Like I did it for 3 months in my
Hmm.
when my first year was ending. I did a lot of DSA, and
Sure.
after that, like not a lot, but I solved some questions on Geeks or Geeks,
Yep.
and not
Yep.
Fleet Code, but yeah, some other site like.
Yep.
And then I only focused on development, and I did it
Okay.
for like uh, 2 to 3 years. And
Hmm.
while interviewing at Swiggy, so the first round was machine coding round. They give you some
Hmm.
real life problem, and your DSA skills are also tested in that round. And
Yep.
then there were a lot of polyfills kind of question, and
Hmm.
DSA like mixed no recursion and like tree traversal kind of question.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that was there, and the last round was the hiring manager round, and he asked me about my like he told me to give you a project link if you have it is on GitHub or
Yep.
not.
Yep.
Then
Yep.
when I sent him the GitHub code of one of my project, and he went through the code, how I commit and everything, my commit message and all.
Hmm.
And he told me to
Okay.
show it like where is it hosted, and he was just
Okay.
going through the how it works, and he was just talking about like we were just discussing like how I built it and how it can be made better. So yeah.
Right. 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 Got it.
So
Got it. Yeah. Yeah. So
so
cool.
you
Huh. Yeah. Abhishek.
Yeah. So if you are going for backend as well, so there will
Hmm.
be a machine coding round and a
Hmm.
DSA round. So yeah, you should know some like how to build APIs and DSA as well.
Yep, yep, yep. Got it. Yeah, I think even this is the sort of similar process which every startup has, right? So yeah, even I think in comparison to like let's say MNC, right? Like if I have to point out the difference, right? So essentially, mostly you won't see a online coding round, right? Like or maybe a huge like where a huge volume of people are kind of competing or maybe doing at it at the same time, right? So यहाँ पे maybe a lot of times you have seen like maybe you are given an assessment, right? कि जहाँ पे you get a take home assessment, उसको आप solve करते हो, फिर उसके बाद maybe the on site या फिर the face to face interviews happen, right?
Right.
So yeah, I think even detail में the entire the this tech interview preparation, this is of course a process you have to kind of prepare for it. ऐसा नहीं है कि you suddenly get up one day, you go to an interview, you crack it, right? Of course उसका वो भी करते हैं लोग, but that is a limited percentage, right? So you have to of course go through the process. So like Akshat Jindal, who is like let's say a software engineer into it, he has also worked at ShareChat. He's doing an interview preparation a batch again starting from next month along with Shivam, right? So, and that is especially focused for tech startups, not just because of course you will have seen a lot of free resources about key Amazon, how to crack Amazon, how to crack Microsoft, right? But I think there's a huge opportunity in India itself, right? Why only you want to go to MNCs? I think the tech, as we're discussing today, I think the tech startup industry in India has grown a lot. So अगर आपको you want to have such a growth uh, in your initial phases of career, I think you should definitely take part in that, right? So yeah, I think we pretty much covered. So I'll share the so we'll currently have the live Q&A, and I'll share Akshat's batch link as well. So guys, now you can just start putting out your questions, right? I think we are done with what we had to discuss, what was the agenda for today's session, right? So, and I'm sure these were some of the brilliant insights, and more of insider insights, I can say, right? कि अपन को ऊपर से तो बहुत कुछ, like you will have heard or read a lot about about startups from online blogs, but hearing from people who are actually currently working at these places. So I think that should be that even personally, I think I got to know a lot about how the culture, how the things are in companies like Cred and Swiggy, right? So I think you guys must have had that clarity by now, ki how you should go about things, what to expect, and what the process looks like, right? So it's now all up to your hands to start the preparation process, right? So if you guys have any questions, just feel free to put it in the comment section, right? We will be picking it up from there, right? So we will wait for 2 to 3 minutes or more than that, right? And we can pick up from there, you know. So just start typing in questions, whatever questions you have in relation to if interview process, or in general, right? The If you want to know more about the startup ecosystem here in India, just put them in your comments and we will take it up. Yeah, I think we've got a first question. So here Yashwant is saying, when we learn LLD and practice it, how can we self-evaluate it? Abhishek, you want to take this up?
Yeah, so like there are a lot of sites, like also on Mentro, you can schedule an interview with someone who is already working in some field,
Yeah.
and have a mock interview session, and then after the sessions ask the feedback like how was the interview, and but, like the interview mostly should be LLD, or like if you are practicing it. So yeah.
Yep. Got it. Got it. Yeah, I think Yashwant, that should answer your question. Okay, next again, Yashwant is asking that how to evaluate a startup, if it is good or not before joining. Aditya, you want to share your thoughts?
Sure. So I think Yashwant, first of all, here you need to figure out what exactly you want to work on. First, when you have identified a domain, say fintech, and inside that also there are various products in fintech, right? So you have to see what the company is actually working on. Does that align with your interest or not? And then you have to see the vision of the company, like what stage is it at, and are you aligned with that particular team size, the kind of work environment which they have there. So basically, what I'm trying to convey here is that there are various parameters around which you would be judging if you would be joining a company or not. So
Mm.
I may not be able to give a general answer to this, but yeah, it would vary from person to person according to your requirements.
Yep. Got it. Yeah, I think Yashwant, that should answer your question. Yeah. So guys, anyone else having any more questions, just feel free to drop in. Right. Yeah. Yashwant, welcome. Yeah. Okay, I think we have got a couple of more. Okay, Yogesh is asking, I'm currently working as a software QA engineer in a PBC, but I wanted to switch into development role. So how can I approach that, and how should I start that? Yeah, Abhishek, you want to take this up?
Yeah, so I would say pick DSA, like like learn basics of it. Like I think you should know it. You must be knowing what, no, solve some questions on DSA basics and pick up some project and just find out
Hmm.
what in which domain you want to go, like back end, front end, while or like what. Then figure it out and make some projects and build your resume in that domain only, and then approach the apply for companies if you have built a good resume, and yeah, just have to apply into a lot of companies and
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I think adding to what Abhishek said, as you know,
yeah.
Yogesh, you are already working as a software QA engineer. So I guess you would be working either in the front end domain or in the back end domain. So it would be, smoother for you if you continue to approach as a developer in the same domain. You might be doing manual testing as well as automation testing. So in case of automation testing, you might be writing test cases like integration tests, unit tests, etc. for the app or web platform which you are working on. So I think you can also try to build a project, like you are testing a flow. Now you have to do the opposite. You have to build the flow, then test it. So working,
Hmm.
in the same domain, say if you are working as a backend
like,
QA engineer, approach building an API and then testing it, or if you're
like,
working as a front-end QA engineer, build a screen or a complete flow and then test it. I think that would really help to move in
yeah.
the right direction.
Yep,
And
yep.
Yogesh, you can also do that. So you can check your internal openings
Hmm.
and approach the manager as well. And yeah,
Yep, 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 yep. Yeah, and even Yogesh, if you are really preparing for to crack the tech interviews, I think you should definitely check out Akshat's interview prep batch. I think which we mentioned in the comment section. I think you should definitely check that out, right? And guys, these programs are at the cost of a McDonald's burger, right? So I think you should definitely get into it, and maybe instead of getting some calories, you will be get moving more successful towards your career, right? Okay, I think Puneet has put an interesting question: how much cred score do we need to get into cred?
What is credit score actually? I don't. I
Yeah, I
don't
think
get.
Aditya himself doesn't know what cred score. Yeah, Puneet, this is
Basically,
I
Puneet,
think.
it is the credit score requirement. Basically, you are supposed to have a credit score of 750 or above
Yeah, yeah,
to
yeah,
become a credit
yeah.
member. Credit score as such is not a valid term. It is credit
Yep,
score, which we
yep,
get
yep.
from credit bureaus like civil and trade.
Yep, yep, yep. Puneet, I hope you got your answer, I guess. Yeah. Acha, Yuvraj is asking how to get started with open source. Aditya, I think you're the best person.
Sure, sure. So I think Yuvraj, open source has definitely has a steep learning curve for beginners. So what I can observe in my experience is that there can broadly be two types of projects. One which you have to build from scratch, and one which are already in a mature stage and are already being used by the public. So fortunately, I
Hmm.
had experience in both these types of projects. While I was working in GSOC, I built a product management tool from scratch. So that basically means that you have to work on all parts yourself, like the front end, back end, testing, and all. So that also has a lot of learning associated with it. Versus the project which is already in a mature stage, there will be a lot of things like
Hmm.
exploring the existing code base. It would be a huge code base. You have to understand how the parts are connected together, how is it working internally, and then you can contribute. So basically, in that case, you have to read a lot of project code first, and then you have to add some feature or fix some existing issues. So in both these type of projects, I think you might be having good first issues is a good thing. In case of projects which are starting from scratch, you have to spend more time solutionizing how you would, build a project, start the project, structure the project. So project structure, architecture, and solutioning, more of that is required when you are building a project from scratch. So first try to identify what type of project you want to work on from these two and accordingly approach the problem.
Yeah, yeah, I think that was a great answer. Okay, okay. So I will be picking up a couple of more questions. So Navin is asking, what are the criteria needs for front-end jobs in CRED? Aditya?
Sure, sure. Yeah, so as I described the interview process, so the first round is basically a machine coding round. So you should be able to solve real world problems in JavaScript, which means that you should be familiar with JavaScript and all the constructs of the JavaScript programming language. And also, the experience in front end also would vary based on the number of years of experience you have had. So say you have worked on a particular framework for say 3 to 4 years, like React or Vue. So you might get a few questions related to that framework as well. But if you are a fresher, you might not get, questions related to a particular framework because you have not actually worked with it. You might only get JavaScript questions. But the basic criteria is that you should know JavaScript, you should be familiar with all the concepts involved, foundations should be clear. And even in the front-end system design round, say suppose I pick up a design from Dribble and give it to you. I give an application design to you. You should be able to break it up in parts. You should be able to solutionize how you would actually build components and break it up and then build the complete screen. Also, JS concepts would also be involved in the front-end system design round. So yeah, basically JavaScript proficiency is required.
Yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. I think that answers. Okay, so I think we'll be taking a last question. So guys, I'll be telling how you can post more questions. So before that, Piyush is asking, what if someone has around 2 to 3 months for preparing for a SD role and has done around 400 questions on lead code, but has not done any project? Abhishek, you want to take this first?
Yeah, so I would say number of questions does not matter. So like what matters is your
Mm.
concepts are clear or not. So like
Yeah,
if your concepts are like suppose your concepts are clear in DP, graph and some popular
yeah,
topics, and you are confident like if you get me any question I will solve it. Then in that case you can go for development. But if your concepts are not clear and you only want to get into backend, as I as I feel that you have mostly done lead
yeah,
code, so you might be into backend as well. So for that case, first be confident on the lead code side, then go for development. And if you are into front end, like what like if you are in a specific field, then build some
mm,
projects because I think you must have some basic DSA skills by solving all the lead code questions. So,
yeah, yeah. Aditya, you wanna give your 2 cents on this?
Yeah, yeah, sure. So, what I think here is that if you want to convey, experience in the industry, then either you add an internship or two internships in a resume, or you add projects, say 1 or 2 projects, to convey that you have experience in that particular domain or role which you are applying for. So, in case
Yeah,
Piyush, you are a fresher, adding 1 or 2 projects in a resume can help at the first stage itself. Like, first stage is basically getting shortlisted for the interview, right? So, just make sure that you are not getting rejected due to this reason, right? You have to make sure that you
yeah,
actually get to the interview, get to the where the real process starts, right? So just ensure, and if you feel that this particular reason is leading to rejections there, then do build at least one project and add it to your resume so that it at least gets shortlisted for interview rounds.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that should, answer most of the questions. So yeah, if we missed anyone, I think, and if you guys have any more questions, I think we missed Shivam and a few other folks. So guys, like, if you guys have any more questions which you want to, discuss about or anything more, even in terms of your career, I think, the links are in the description box, right? You can actually schedule one-on-ones with Aditya and Abhishek, right? So their Mentro profiles are in the comment section, in the description, right? So make sure you can just go onto their profiles and just directly book one-on-one sessions, and you can discuss it personally with them if you have anything up close to your career, or you want to discuss it in a specific manner, right? So due to time constraints, of course, we can't take any more questions. So but yeah, in any case, you can just book one-on-ones with them on Mentro, right? So yeah, I guess, guys, that was it. And kudos to everyone who could make it to this live. I think first of all, a huge thanks to Aditya and Abhishek for being part of this. Super happy, like everyone learned so much today. Even we got to know a lot about each other, and how the life and career is that which we are going through, right? So yeah, I hope that everyone had a very great time. And of course, like, make sure you stay updated with the Mentro, because we recently launched the mentor programs, and everyone, like, a lot of mentors are going to do their own mentor classes, and of course a lot of people are doing their own own live batches, upskilling batches. So make sure you check them out. And of course, as I said earlier, these are super affordable at the price of McDonald's burger, and of course the seats are limited, so make sure you just join in them ASAP, right? So yeah, I think that will be it. And keep learning and keep upskilling, everyone. And I will see you in the next one for sure. So goodbye, take care, and yeah, hope to see you in the next one. Thanks Aditya, thanks
Yeah.
Abhishek,
Bye
guys.
bye bye.
Yeah,
Thank
bye
you.
bye.
Thanks, Jaideep.
Yeah, yeah, bye guys. Yeah.